and running on a Thursday evening here on VSiN PrimeTime alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. We are watching lovely Augusta, Georgia as we chat right now. Bryson DeChambeau, your current leader, but a gentleman by the name of Scotty Scheffler. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He seems to be on the prowl a little bit. He is 6 under through 16, birdie putt on 17 upcoming. So we will see if Scotty Scheffler can end up with the first round lead. Tiger Woods, so far, even par. So we will be keeping a close eye on Tiger. Very unlikely he will be able to finish his first round. So a lot to get to today, Mr. Von Tobel. We got NBA card, an interesting NBA card. We got something that I think is going to get you a little heated a little bit later on in the show regarding the Defensive Player of the Year discussion.
I'm in a good mood. I don't know.
So we got a lot to get to. We got we got the Shohei Ohtani interpreter news.
Dude, that's wild.
That is incredible. I kind of want to start there with the latest from the Shohei Ohtani interpreter news, as the size of his bets and the debt he alleged incurred were massive, this according to Jeff Passan, losing bets of nearly $183 million, winning bets of more than $142 million, so a loss of $40.7 million. Average wager around $12,800. Largest wager was around $160,000. Smallest wager around $10. Hey, one of us. Total losing bets $182.9 million. Net losses $40.7.
Yeah. Did you mention the total amount of bets in that span?
19,000.
Yeah. 19,000 bets from December 2021 to January 2024. We also have some of the messages that he had sent as well. On November 14th, 2002, Mizuhara allegedly messaged the bookmaker stating, quote, "I'm terrible at this sports betting thing, huh? LOL. Any chance you could bump me again? As you know, you don't have to worry about me not paying," which is absolutely wild and weird. But I think the thing that comes across is more fascinating. And look, a lot of people really jumped to the conclusion that, oh, it's Shohei Ohtani. He's got a gambling problem. Like, I think that's a little unfair when you don't know it. And for a lot of people to kind of just be like, how could he not notice that amount of money missing? When you make over $40 million in endorsements alone a year, I think that you'll probably, when you're not probably handling your finances on a day-to-day basis, it's actually kind of realistic that you would not know that money is being siphoned out of your account over the course of these years. But as Passan tweeted out a seemingly a confession from Ipe Mizuhara via text to a bookmaker saying, quote, have you seen the Mizuhara bookmaker sent him a message. Quote, have you seen the reports? Bookmaker responded, yes, but that's all BS. Obviously, you didn't steal from him. I understand it's a cover job. I totally get it. Mizuhara responded to him saying, technically, I did steal from him. It's all over for me. So it seems like he, in private conversations, admitted to, like, yeah, kind of took the money. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. But a lot of people ran to the assumption, like, no, Ohtani's got the problem. A lot of the information that's coming out painting a different picture at this point right now.
My favorite thing, and I'm hoping that it is true, because one of my favorite college football players of recent memory to bet on was Jake Haener from Fresno State. And on or about September 24th, 2021, Mizuhara messaged bookmaker 2, quote, I've been just messing around with soccer. There's games on 24/7, LOL. I took UCLA, but they lost outright. And then it was quickly looked up, courtesy of Roger Sherman, that UCLA's men and women's soccer teams did not lose from September 9th to September 30th. So you're more than likely looking at the Jake Haener game when they came all the way back and beat UCLA as an 11-point underdog, 40-37. So you know what? If you're betting against Jake Haener, you deserve to have lost $40 million.
Yep. And it all, I mean, and look, it seems like it kind of got like nuts. Like there was also an excerpt here. So like the bookmaker messaged Mizuhara stating, hey, Ippy, they call him, it's 2:00 on Friday. I don't know why you're not returning my calls. I'm here in Newport Beach. and I see Ohtani walking his dog, I'm going to go up to him and ask him how I can get in touch with you since you're not responding. Like, there's a lot of indications here that he was kind of trying to pull a fast one. So this is absolutely nuts that Ohtani was out walking his dog, and at one point there was a bookmaker just watching him from the shadows going, I'm just going to go talk to him. I need my money back. Like, this is, the more that's coming out, obviously it's getting crazier. We were kind of expecting all of this. But this is, I think, at least shedding some light on what this was like. And I do think that most people should probably tone it down when it comes to the accusations of, like, Ohtani was actually in on this whole thing. It's very plausible that he wasn't. You're still on this, Fresno State. That was a good win for Fresno State.
I had it. I went back and I looked in my spreadsheet. I took Fresno plus 10.5.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Outright winner.
You got to bet against Jake Haener?
Dude, Jake Haener was a dog,
What's wrong with you, man? Yeah, he was. He played for the Bulldogs.
That Mountain West Championship game.
Ooh, buddy.
Awesome.
Down the stretch, once he came back from that ankle injury, yeah. Jake Haener is my guy. All right. Like we mentioned, we got the Masters going on. We will keep you updated on that. I do want to check one thing because DraftKings updates live odds on the Masters. And if you are wondering, hey, maybe I won't bet Scotty Scheffler to start. Maybe we can get him in tournament. Plus 120 now.
Yeah, it didn't really work out. It's a good way to look at it.
Is Scotty Scheffler UConn?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's trailing right now, right? So he might be, though. It is pretty nuts, like, just how machine-like he is with the way that he's playing. And the real question is, do you think that Bryson DeChambeau can kind of keep this up in his own right? Because right now I think he's still trailing by a stroke, right? Scheffler is. But I don't think Scheffler's going anywhere. So it's going to be on whether or not Bryson DeChambeau can kind of keep this up and go toe-to-toe this entire time. But if Scheffler can come out here and win wire-to-wire, that would be insane, especially given what we were talking about with his odds and the historic nature of the odds for him to win this thing.
Well, we talked to Steve Sands yesterday from the Golf Channel, and basically what it boiled down to was he didn't want to bet him just because it's a plus 450 favorite in a major. But then at the end of the interview, I asked who's winning. He goes, Scotty Scheffler.
Dude, it's like right now, if you look at strokes gained right now and like breaking it down by like strokes gained putting, all around the green approach, everything. He's positive in everything. Like, he is absolutely destroying this thing right now. If you look at the data golf numbers, if you look around, like, and Bryson DeChambeau did the same thing here, but generally when you're looking, like, a guy probably struggles in one area, right? Danny Willett, for example, who's 4 under Tim, he's gained strokes in every category but one, and that's off the tee. But, like, the fact that he's just green across the board and he has destroyed this course in this first round, and given his course history, like we talked about this and how good he is, I don't see any reason why he can't keep this up outside of, as we discussed, right, maybe the very long shot that he leaves because, right, his wife is maybe going to give birth.
That's right.
It sounds
like he said he would leave if his wife went into labor or gave birth.
But
to
it sounds
their
like
child.
the due date's like 10 days. Yeah, I was going to say like later in the month. So I think that's more of a precautionary thing than anything. So, in other words, an act of God, it seems, would be the only thing that keeps Scotty Scheffler from winning this thing.
Well, so here's the question, right? As silly as it may sound, this is kind of what we did during the NCAA tournament. At what point do you just jump in on UConn in the futures market? Is it too late? And to be honest, I was stubborn throughout the whole thing. I didn't really try to go against them. I went against them in Illinois, but outside of that, we bet on them against San Diego State. I stayed off of them against Alabama. And I'm looking at Scotty Scheffler currently sitting at plus 115 at DraftKings, and I'm thinking, who's beating this dude? Right? Do you trust that Bryson DeChambeau, who shot a 7 under 65 today, was phenomenal? And if you have a Bryson first-round leader, you're sweating a little bit. Not that Scotty Scheffler will overtake him because he's at 17. He's 6 under, so more than likely, unless he eagles the par 4 18, which seems unlikely, you're looking at maybe a chop situation, but if you have a Bryson first-round leader. But all in all, Scotty Scheffler just doing what he's been doing once again. And you look at him to finish top 5 right now at DraftKings, minus 450. That was plus money yesterday.
Yep.
And as crazy as it sounds, it's just this dude is playing that incredibly well, and he sits at minus 450 to be in the top 5 of the Masters. So Bryson DeChambeau, your leader right now at the Masters.
Well, and that's the other part about this, right? It's Scheffler's playing well, and nothing is insurmountable after one round. But there is like a growing gap between DeChambeau and him than like the rest of the field. So it's not huge at this point. You know, Danny Willett, as you mentioned, is 4 under. But the fact that Scheffler is 6 under, could get to 7 under by the time this thing ends, and then the rest of the pack is at 3 under or worse, like that's the other part about it is there is a very tiny chasm that's maybe going to develop here in the second round. That's the nutty part. It's not only just that he's playing well, but him and DeChambeau have already got a decent lead through 1 round on what you would consider to be the rest of the field.
A couple players of note that have struggled today. Ricky Fowler, who really had a promising 2023. He is 4 over through. He is 4 over. Excuse me. Sitting there with a 76, so very much in jeopardy of missing the cut. Brooks Koepka 1 over through 6 right now. Shane Lowry was a guy that many people thought, just because of the likely bad weather that was out there, that he would be someone to back. He is sitting at 1 over. How's our guy Hideki? Has he bounced back at all here? No, he has not. He is 4 over 76 today. That's not good. No. Not good for Hideki Matsuyama, who let's just say was, I think, a pretty popular play amongst VSiN folks.
Sure. And by the way, John Rahm, I think he just finished. He just bogeyed back-to-back holes to finish 1 over for his round. So, yeah, not going well for some of the big names outside of Scottie Scheffler.
Joaquin Niemann 2 under, I beg your pardon, tied for 6. Will Zalatoris, who we talked about a bit, some injury concerns, but 2 under today as well. Bryson DeChambeau, your leader. Scottie Scheffler on his heels, though. He has shot a 6 under through 17 holes. Let's talk some NFL draft and NBA with our good friend Drew Dinsick. We'll do that next. We're up and running. It's VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you fancy some betting splits data as part of your handicap, you can check them out for free. All the data courtesy of DraftKings. You can check them out now at VSiN.com/splits. You get 2 weeks free betting access. Check it out now, VSiN.com/splits.
It is VSiN Primetime. We're live here at the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, keeping our eyes on what's unfolding at the Masters as Scottie Scheffler going to wrap up his first round momentarily. Tiger Woods, even par through 7, and Bryson DeChambeau in the clubhouse with a 65. So he is right now your sole leader at this point in time. Danny Willett at 4 under, a 68. Ryan Fox amongst a couple sitting there at 3 under. But let's continue the chatter from the NBA side of things, as well as a little NFL draft discussion. Always great to bring in our good friend Drew Dinsick. You can follow him on Twitter at whale_capper. He joins us on our progressive guest line. So this is an interesting game tonight because we've seen this line kind of go all over the place. The Knicks are at the Boston Celtics. The Knicks at one point were, I believe, a 2 or 2.5 point favorite, Drew, but everybody for the Celtics has now been ruled in, and they have now flipped out to a 3-point favorite. So tonight, Boston, New York, how are you looking at this one?
Yeah, I don't get it. Why in the world is this 3? My fair has this well outside of 3, and I think, yes, they're this time of year things get weird. Somebody's obviously kind of projecting that the Celtics are not going to play their starters their full rotation minutes, but I'm not seeing it. I haven't heard any actual rumbling of that. There was a lot of speculation that the Mavericks were going to do that yesterday too against the Heat. Did not unfold that way. The Mavericks took care of business and had Luke out there at the end of the fourth quarter doing his thing. So I think the Celtics are a matchup nightmare for the Heat. I mean, for the Knicks in basically every category here. And I think you're going to have a pretty clear opportunity to kind of put an exclamation point on what has been a tremendous season here for the Celtics. I rate the Celtics as the best team in the East by so much it's absurd. And I honestly don't exactly know what it is about this Knicks team that the market loves so much, and particularly this matchup. So best of luck to the backers who have taken swings at the king.
Yep. Yeah, the Knicks are a try-hard team, right? And I think the market really likes that because they do take care of business against some of the bad teams. But power rating-wise, it gets a little wonky sometimes. All right, let's go to another one. Pelicans, they need to take care of business still. Still no Brandon Ingram. Taking on the Kings, though, who are a little beat up. Keegan Murray's questionable. Are you playing New Orleans here as a small road underdog?
Yeah, a little bit more complicated here because I took some swings on the Pelicans to miss the playoffs after Brandon Ingram went down, and it looked pretty likely that they were going to find their way into the play-in pretty cleanly. However, their win on Sunday over the Suns was absolutely massive to kind of keep them into this hunt for the 6th seed, and now they get a Kings team that is really, really lacking in the second unit. The absence of Herter and Monk has been, it's been massive for what the Kings are able to do in terms of their offensive flow. The Kings are not a good defensive team, period, and so they really rely on their offense clicking on all cylinders. And when you're starting to see a little bit of the fatigue set in with Sabonis and Fox. These are elite players. Yes, they are. They are worthy of kind of careful consideration in terms of drawing up a team-specific game plan defensively, but this is not the kind of team in the Pelicans that you want to draw, which have Herb Jones and just in general a very, very solid ability to rotate defensively. Like, this is kind of a pretty disastrous matchup for a Kings team that is falling hard and fast, and I think ultimately I make this one Pelicans small favorite. I took the plus money. Some of this is covering my liability on Pelicans to miss the playoffs in case this is the game that kind of clinches the 6th seed for them. But I'm holding out hope that either the Lakers or the Warriors will take care of business, beat the Pelicans this weekend, and the Suns have the tiebreak against them. So need the Suns to win, need the Pelicans to take a couple L's down the stretch here. But tonight's not going to be one of them, in my opinion.
Drew Dinsick, NBC Sports, betting analyst, joining us here, talking some NBA. And we're going to talk some drafts here momentarily. I want to ask both of you guys this because, and JVT's going to make fun of me for phrasing it this way, but we just saw UConn as the favorite just run right through, and it's like, why didn't we just bet on UConn on a plus price when they were? So I bring that up because Denver last night takes care of business to more than likely lock up the 1 seed in the West. They're sitting at plus 140 at DraftKings to win the Western Conference. So I'll start with you, Drew, then JVT, I'd like you to chime in. At plus 140, give the reasons why someone should not bet that, or why someone should bet plus 140 for the Denver Nuggets to win the West. Not the championship, but the Western Conference.
Yeah, so the price is implying that, that their path is going to be easier than I currently see it. Right. I do think that the top 3 is pretty much locked right now. Like, there could still be some chaos with the Timberwolves down the stretch, flipping that down into the 3 and letting the Thunder up into the 2. But basically with the Thunder and the Timberwolves, who I hold in relatively high regard, on one side of the draw, with relatively weak, in my opinion, and I'm including the Suns in that conversation, with relatively weak first-round opponents, like, those two teams are going to fight it out for the other spot in the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. And they are both tough matchups for the Nuggets, particularly at full strength. And Karl Anthony Towns back for the Timberwolves; they're going to be at full strength. I think the Thunder, if you're going to play the Thunder, you want to play them early before they kind of entirely figure out, get their playoff legs under them. If they get a couple of series wins under their belt, the team is going to be an absolute disaster to play in the Western Conference Finals. And maybe even bigger problem than that, you're going to have to go through either Kawhi Leonard or Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic is playing the best basketball of anyone on earth over the last 2 months. And really, if you just look at the lineup, plus minus efficiency, any metric you want to go with, since the trade deadline, where the Mavericks shored up their closing, what is effectively one of the most dynamic closing fives in the game, this is going to be a tough out for them. And this is completely accepting the fact that your first round opponent could be the likes of the Lakers or the Warriors. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at a year last year where Denver waltzed to the finals. Like, there was basically 3 non-competes. I mean, I guess the toughest competition was your Timberwolves, and that one, it took them 3 games to even figure out where they were, what they were trying to do. So, it was a very easy path for them last year. It is going to be a very tough path for them this year. I think, I'm not saying that they're not going to win. They probably will. They should be the favorites, but plus 140 implies a much easier path than I think exists.
Yeah, I would agree with all those points. I don't really think there's much to rehash to, and including, Drew, I think we'll call them dangerous teams, right? That are going to play one another in the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. I think those can be, if they're going to be fully healthy, pains in the asses, I think, is the scientific term for those teams. So, quick, because we got 3 minutes left, I want to switch to this because you and I think we're on the same wavelength here in this NFL draft. So I've come around on the last few months. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy's going to be a first-round pick. Dane Brugler came out in his beast and actually had him about 21st in the first round. That's something I kind of gravitate towards. Are we doing too much? Because I've got J.J. McCarthy circled over his draft position. I think that the market's a little too high on where this kid might go.
Yeah, we agree. The conventional wisdom when the Minnesota Vikings acquired a second first-round pick in this year's draft from the Texans, what was that, about three weeks ago? People looked at that move. They knew that the Vikings had eyes for a quarterback in this year's draft, and they assumed, that's enough draft capital to get up into the 4th or the 5th seed. We know that you have a GM in Monty Ossenfort who is very willing to trade down. You have a GM in, we don't know exactly what to expect from the Chargers GM, but that's a team that desperately needs as much capital as possible and almost certainly would take a trade down opportunity if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not available. So I would say that, people kind of put the puzzle pieces together and said, Vikings going up for 4 or 5 to take JJ. Mission accomplished, case closed. Let's move on. Not so fast, my friend, for me on that, just because if that was the plan, just do it. Make the trade now. Don't wait until, the chaos of the draft is a part of the equation. And people are like, well, what if their guy's not there? And it's like, well, you have the draft capital to beat any other team that would trade up. It does feel like the market outside of the Vikings for JJ McCarthy is pretty soft. And, you're in a good position now with the, first round picks you have this year to just to de-incentivize anyone else from even thinking of trading up. And so I'm kind of now thinking, well, the Vikings played this really well. They've locked and anchored everyone on this idea that they're going up, but they might just be able to sit there at 11 and get him. And ultimately, if they have to maneuver a little bit in the back end of the top 10, like trade up to the 9 with the Bears, 8 with the Falcons, even 10 with the Jets, just to keep some other team from leaping them, they can do that without giving up their other first round pick in this year's draft. And so I think they've played this extremely well, where they could ultimately just get McCarthy at 11. And anytime you have a draft prop that hinges on a trade will happen, those are very, very soft. And so, I think ultimately the fact you can get plus money on McCarthy at 5.5 right now is a fair play. I'm not saying this is the bet of this draft cycle by any stretch of the imagination, but way too much certainty that that's going to happen.
No, that's Bo Nix over 32.5.
That was one of the most beautiful things. That was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life, Drew.
Drew, our listeners, our viewers are getting tired of us, but we have been standing on. If Bo Nix goes 12 and 5 quarterbacks go in the first round, we might quit. I don't know. That might be where we stand. Hey, always appreciate it, Drew. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Hey, best of luck, you guys. Enjoy the night.
There he is, Drew Dinsick, the Whale Capper at Whale_Capper. We got a first-round leader update from the Masters at Best Bets.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Check out the website, folks. VSiN.com has a lot of great content up there. It was chock full of Masters coverage, which, by the way, it still will be throughout the Masters. We also have EPL Best Bets for match days coming up this weekend from Nigel Seeley, and baseball articles as well. I would pimp mine, but the game's already over, so check it out now.
Winner!
VSiN.com.
NBD. That's what we do. Give out winners. No big deal. What was that? What was that sweat? That was a sweat today.
It was not.
Royals first 5, 9 runs in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, it was pretty. Did it get that ugly? I thought it was only 5. Maybe it was 9. I kind of went blind after. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're good.
No, 9 runs in the first inning. If you go on VSiN.com, you would have checked out a first 5 bet for the Royals.
What did our boy for the Astros do? Give me
oh yeah, we got to talk.
We
got to talk about Hunter Brown, man. This dude, something else here. Today, 3.
Gave up through 2/3 of an inning. So he didn't get out of the first. Keep that in mind, folks. Just 2/3 of an inning here for our guy.
He went 11 hits, 9 runs, all earned, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. I had to pull up.
I wrote this while you're pulling up.
Yeah.
So I wrote about this today, and with Brown, one of the things that had really stuck out was, and this is why you always look this is why I really enjoy baseball betting as somebody who likes numbers and data a lot is, man, you can find reasons, you can dig through everything, you can find out stuff, right? So, for example, if you as a pitcher are giving up a high batting average on balls in play, okay, that might be unlucky. So let's look, what's happening. Let's look at some of the other numbers. And then you look at some of the other numbers, Tim, and you realize that, yeah, he's getting insanely unlucky on balls in play, but there's a reason. because he's giving up hard contact like crazy through 5 innings of work and 2 starts. 52% of the batted balls were considered hard hit. He was just getting smoked. He wasn't generating anything in terms of swings and misses. Like, he's just got nothing. And so when you see all that and you put it together, like, maybe this Royals team with a little bit of feistiness can do this. Boy, oh boy, did not expect that. They blasted this dude. They're now 9-4, the Royals. By the way, do we do the annoying win total thing? Royals, win total over. Let's do this thing. Yankees, start losing, please. But, man, that was crazy how bad that got for him.
Baseball has been going on for a long time. It's hard to break records in baseball. Hunter Brown broke a record today, the starter for the Astros. Most hits allowed in a game by a pitcher, starter or reliever, who pitched less than 1 full inning.
Yeah, that was crazy.
11 hits. First 5, VSiN.com, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Make sure you check it out. All right, quickly, let's check the leaderboard.
Also, can I say really quickly, sorry, last point
of
this. Just look up
Winner. Just no big deal.
No, don't do that. Just look up Brady Singer's numbers. He's killing it. Like, Brady Singer's been awesome. And again today, 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 4. Just scattering a whole bunch of weak grounders. The dude's been great through 3 starts.
Scotty Scheffler, what a bum. Par on 18. So Bryson DeChambeau still your leader. And right now, current odds for him to lead after the first round, minus 2,500 at DraftKings, as he sits at 7 under in the clubhouse with a 65. Scotty Scheffler, 6 under, 66 today. Danny Willett in third right now, a 4 under, 68. We have our graphic real quickly of the guys that we drafted. My guy X, strong finish, but you have Scotty Scheffler, so I need everyone else to suck on your list there.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now. It's actually not looking too bad for you because I've got 2 guys that are doing pretty poorly. Spieth is right now, I think, he's 3 over, as is Justin Rose. I've got 2 guys that are at 1 over. That would be Sahith Theegala and Brooks Koepka. So around, they should be fine in the grand scheme of things, maybe be able to push their way up. And then, of course, Cam Smith at 1 under. So I got 2 guys that are under par right now. Good place to be. And then I got 2 guys that are floating around 1 over. So let's do this thing.
All right. It's that time of the show, so let's get to it. We got a fun little graphic to get to. Let's get to our best bets.
I see you using an old style. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Putting our money where our mouth is.
I like to live dangerously.
It's time for Best Bets.
Come on, Jerry, it's a lock.
All right, Mr. Von Tobel, nothing for me on a game-to-game standpoint here tonight. But you know what? I was watching the NBA last night, and boy, oh boy, this Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, might I add, got torched by Nikola Jokic. Victor Wembanyama, 10-1. It's a good bet, right, JVT?
If you can find it, I think it's down to 8-1, and you're not going to actually bet that.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to get you fired up. All right, let's get to it, because I was texting you last night. I knew it was coming. And look, there are people here at the network.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We should tell our audience. I don't have anything to bet. My only bet today was earlier in the day. I don't think we have any best bets.
Winner, no big deal. Yeah, we don't have any best bets for today.
So we told, get the sounder ready. We fired it
I just
perfectly.
like the sounder. It's a good sounder. I want to keep it going. Bottom of the hour every day. We do the first hour. We always have our best bets. But I did want to get your take because I knew the Discord. I knew the discussion on social media when last night Nikola Jokic, who, by the way, is going to win the MVP again because he's awesome, he went off. He had 41 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Rudy Gobert is minus 3,000 at DraftKings right now to win Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of people are looking at those stats. So I wanted to tee you up for the DPOY discussion because it seems completely one-sided. Victor Wembanyama is getting completely jobbed, according to everybody on social media.
Okay, so I do want to make this clear in as to where I stand. I don't care. Like, if you were to tell me right now that Victor Wembanyama, if you were to drop in from the future, be like, Wemby wins, I'd be like, oh, cool. All right, yeah, totally get it. In fact, people that I like, right? Mitch Moss and Weston up on Twitter, all these people who have Defensive Player of the Year tickets on Victor Wembanyama, I hope you win it. I have nothing against the fact that he could win this thing. I don't care. I have nothing on Rudy Gobert. What has driven me absolutely nuts about this conversation when it comes to Defensive Player of the Year is the disingenuous conversations about evaluating Rudy Gobert as a defensive player. You are not a serious person if you're trying to make the argument that he's not a good defensive player. You're not. And there's so many different things that you can point to just poke holes in some of these arguments. For example, again, immediately yesterday, right? Timberwolves come out, they open up their defensive set. What do? Naz Reid on Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, off ball, I think he was on Aaron Gordon. And immediately, well, if he's defensive player of the year, why? This is a defensive game plan that many teams have done. In fact, if you remember in the Western Conference Finals, everybody was getting all randy about the fact that the Lakers had lost the first game but put Rui Hachimura on Nikola Jokic, still lost the game, by the way, and allowed Anthony Davis to roam as a defender and help and do those sort of things. That is a game plan that teams have often done with Nikola Jokic. But fine. I mean, I guess maybe that just doesn't count. By the way, Rudy Gobert started to defend him. There are some numbers out there that allegedly Nikola Jokic went 8 of 10 against him. Oh, God, the best player in the world had a really good game against you. That sucks. I'm going to read you some numbers here. You ready for these?
I'm ready.
Rudy Gobert is a primary defender against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 6 of 14, 16 points, committed 3 turnovers. Rudy Gobert is a primary defender against James Harden. 3 of 10, 7 points, 2 turnovers. Paul George, 3 of 13, 11 points, 1 turnover. Victor Wembanyama in 4 games, 13 of 34, 33 points, 5 turnovers, 33 points in 4 games. Incredible. Kristaps Porzingis, 2 of 6, 8 points, didn't commit a turnover. Malik Monk, 4 of 11, 11 points, 1 turnover. He's not a bad defender. And this is what drives me nuts. If you think Victor Wembanyama should win the award, then more power to you. That's a fine argument to make. I get it. But these disingenuous arguments about Gobert as a defender is not true. And the argument that, well, he plays with really good defenders, it's not fair. He shouldn't win Defensive Player of the Year. You want more numbers? Rudy Gobert on the floor. Minnesota Timberwolves give up 3.2 points fewer per 100 possessions. These good defenders that we're talking about, Tim, when Anthony Edwards is on the floor, Minnesota Timberwolves give up 2.7 more points per 100 possessions. McDaniels, 4.8 more points per 100 possessions. Karl Anthony Towns, 2.2 more points per 100 possessions. Most used lineup without Rudy Gobert on the floor. God, I'm getting so frustrated. A 121 defensive rating for the Minnesota Timberwolves. You know who's dead last in the NBA right now? The Utah Jazz with a defensive rating that's better than that. Let's just stop with the disingenuous arguments. You can say you think Rudy Gobert should not win it. That's fine. But you are not a real person if you continue to make these asinine arguments that he's not a good defender. You don't know ball. That's it.
I didn't think I'd get you that fired up. I'm excited about that.
I don't mind if you think the other way. It's just I hate stupid arguments like that. I do. It's just it is not a real argument. And you're purposely obfuscating everything else to make your point. And that's just not the way that these things should be done. That's it.
All right. So Victor Wembanyama, 10-1. Got it.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, right. No, I don't have any bets. I mean, I did earlier today.
He did.
But it's already
That's why you check out VSiN.com Thursdays and Tuesdays. First 5 write-ups because you get winners like a 9-run first inning for the Royals.
Actually, no, we can throw in J.J. McCarthy over 5.5. That is one I would very much
J.J.
recommend.
McCarthy, over 5.5. Juice is moving. By the way, Juice moving again on our guy Bo Nix, now out to minus 165 on over 32.5. He's not going in the first round, folks. It's not happening. All right, let's talk some hockey. Nick Alberga, the Golden Muzzy. He'll join us on the other side. JVT needs a water break.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
New customers can bet $5, get $150 instantly in bonus bets at DraftKings with any UFC 300 bet. All you got to do, sign up with the promo code VSiN. That's VSIN. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, I am Tim Murray. It is VSiN Prime Time as we sit here on this first round of the Masters Thursday. Bryson DeChambeau, a 7-under 65, 8 birdies, 1 bogey for Bryson DeChambeau. Scotty Scheffler, 6 birdies, no bogeys. He's in the clubhouse with a 66 6-under. Max Homa just had a birdie on the 9th hole. He is in the same grouping with Tiger Woods. He is 4 under through 9 holes. And your Tiger updates, Tiger Woods 1 under through 9 holes as well. What is making you laugh?
Tiger's gone from 125 to 1 before the tournament to 66 to 1.
Oh,
there you go.
On the move. He's on the prowl.
On his way.
Nick Alberga. Always love chatting with our good friend at the Golden Muzzy on Twitter to get us the latest from the NHL. And Nick, let's jump right into it. We got a whole bunch of games tonight, important games. So, we've talked a lot about the NBA and, motivational side of things. When you look at tonight's card, you've got Detroit, you've got Washington, you've got the Flyers, who have been just a dumpster fire as of late, all trying to get this final playoff spot. How do you go about handicapping teams that are fighting for a playoff berth?
Gotta love the 3-point league. And guys, great to be with you. It's sort of fascinating because this time of year I find, and I said this a couple weeks back when I was on VSiN, it's so hard to bet on the NHL right now because I think the teams that are expected to win, the prices are so juiced. And we're seeing that tonight with, for instance, Pittsburgh and Detroit, and the overwhelming favorite in that game is Pittsburgh. Islanders in Montreal, but never discount the role of spoiler this time of year. I know you referenced the Philadelphia Flyers. I have no clue what that was in Montreal on Tuesday night, losing 9-3 in a game they had to get. So Montreal is a perfect example of a team really putting up a fight to finish up the season. I think bettors can find a lot of value in teams like that. Having said that, there's probably some teams I believe in a bit more. There has to be a winner between Detroit and Pittsburgh tonight. I think my lasting memory from this playoff race, guys, if you want to call it that, in the Eastern Conference, does anybody want it is my question.
Right.
Doesn't seem like my Capitals want it because
they got a big win over the Red Wings the other
after
day.
They dropped 5 in a row.
Well, so my Red Wings, I will say, I'll never forgive Wilbo for it. How damaging was the loss for the Red Wings when you evaluate the remaining schedule for both Washington and Detroit and the other teams that are competing for it? Right, Pittsburgh obviously coming on here a little bit. You mentioned the Flyers. How damaging was that loss for the Red Wings?
Oh, it was huge. I think they're in big time trouble. I should preface by saying, like a week and a half ago, I've maintained for like 3 months, I thought Detroit was going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then unfortunately they hit a bit of a wall like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and found their footing again. Patrick Kane's been an exceptional story, but again, it's so cliche in sports, must win. But I think they need to find a way to win this game in regulation against Pittsburgh. That's a tough task. Number one, I love the revenge narrative in sports. Alex Nedeljkovic, former Detroit Red Wings netminder, now with Pittsburgh, taking this team on a storybook run. Always careful to compare it to previous seasons, but it is a copycat sport and league. And you look back last year at Florida, when it was a guy like Alex Lyon who led the Florida Panthers into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They went on a crazy run. And now, conversely, you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. It has them in Tristan Jarry. Last year, it wasn't Sergei Bobrovsky. It's Alex Nedeljkovic, the backup, who has led this Pittsburgh team. So I do not like Detroit's chances. Having said it, as just mentioned, it seems like nobody wanted this. So would we shocked at all if Detroit walks in there into Pittsburgh tonight and wins that game? Probably not.
Talking to our good friend Nick Alberga. Follow him on Twitter at the Golden Muzzy there. Looking at some big picture, and we'll certainly have you on as we get the playoffs rolling into form here. But
because now you're useful to us. Now that basketball's over, now
Exactly.
you're useful.
Yeah, well, I mean, Monday ended, and I'm like, all right, what are we going to talk about? So, but looking at the Western Conference, we here in Vegas, not that we're a local network, but obviously the Vegas Golden Knights, they're still jockeying for position, likely going to get that second wild card, even though they could get into third place, which ultimately would have a head-to-head matchup against the Edmonton Oilers. Right now, as you look at the Western Conference, the Avs are at plus 350. I'm using DraftKings odds. Edmonton's at plus 380. Dallas plus 425. And then you've got the Golden Knights at plus 550. How do you, Nick, right now, handicap the Western Conference futures market?
Well, firstly, I would say spread the wealth. Anything is possible. We saw that last year with Vegas. We saw with the Florida Panthers. Do I think there's substantial value in those teams? Probably not. I should preface by saying Colorado was my day one pick to win the Stanley Cup. Nathan McKinnon was my day one pick to win the Hart Trophy. So I'm onto something there. Really like that team, like the depth. I think weirdly people are sleeping on the Dallas Stars. Like they've got crazy depth. A youngster named Wyatt Johnson's had an impeccable campaign for them and really taken that next step to complement the depth they already have. Then they have Jake Ottinger in between the pipes. So obviously there's value there. Then you look at Edmonton. I think there's that understanding that like Connor McDavid could go down as the best player ever, period, full stop. And he has yet to win that elusive first Stanley Cup, much similar to Sidney Crosby early on in his career. So like people are wondering, and maybe I'm the only person, it's like, when's going to be that time for the Oilers? So I think you can make the case for all three of those teams. I think the Western Conference in general, I think the intriguing part for me is like there's going to be some really good teams that exit in round one. That's why I think it's a better. I want to look at some value. I want to look at some Cinderella runs. I would look at the Nashville Predators. It may seem like a pipe dream, but you just never know. I love when teams are red hot going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're 18-4-3. In their last 27 outings, plus 2,000 around there in terms of a futures ticket. I think teams like that, even Los Angeles, like I think you could actually find value because there are so many good teams in that conference, and somebody's got to go out in round one here.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
What's your ticket on the Predators?
89-1.
Let's go.
That's good. Hey, I will readily admit somebody just talked me into it. Thank you, Mike Samich. I appreciate it. So I've got no reason other than that. All right, let me ask you this. In terms of recent form, and we still, again, have about 4 games left for some of these teams, but the Islanders have bounced back nicely from this long losing streak that they were on. What do you make of this winning streak that they're on now, and how important is that heading into it? I think they're, what are they, about 25-1 to win the Eastern Conference, somewhere around there?
Yeah, it's puzzling. Like I think you look at this team and you're like, hey, Ilya Sorokin's standing on his head. He's the number one goalie for that team, but it's actually been Semyon Varlamov, who again is going to start this game, which is ironic because Patrick Waugh, one of the best goalies to ever do it, is their head coach. You would think by default he would go to Sorokin, but full credit to him, he's found his guy in the veteran Semyon Varlamov. At the end of the day, do I think the Islanders have a chance of going far? Probably not. Having said that, I always have to be mindful and positive about teams who play impeccable defense. And I think the last little while, the Islanders have played that Islanders brand. They can score more than maybe people give them credit for as well. At the end of the day, I don't know if they have enough offense to, say, win a Stanley Cup. I think they could surprise somebody at the very least in round one. But I think in terms of futures value, I'm not crazy about this Islanders team. They're on a good run, but it's been very, very shaky. And the goaltending's been strong, and defensively, I still have my questions too.
Nick Alberga joining us on our progressive guest line at the Golden Muzzy on Twitter. Make sure you follow him there. He'll point you in the right direction of all you need to know as we get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. So you look at Boston last year, remarkable regular season, and then the Stanley Cup playoffs, being the Stanley Cup playoffs, out you go in the first round of the Florida Panthers. So when you look at this year's Bruins team, they're not going to more than likely have the top points coming out of the East, as the Rangers have 3 more than them right now. How do you look at the Bruins' prospects to get to the Stanley Cup final after a massive disappointment just a year ago?
Downright scary again. And again, it just speaks volumes to like the parity in this league. But staring down the barrel of Boston is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, you want to talk about value in terms of futures appeal, guys. I looked the other day, plus 1,700 around there for Tampa to win the Stanley Cup. How could you discount a team that has had this legacy in the last decade and just being, a really, really difficult team to get out? I mean, they made the Stanley Cup final, don't forget, in 3 consecutive seasons a couple of years back. They've won 12 of the last 14 games. They are piping hot. They have the best goaltender on the planet, pound for pound, in my opinion, in Andrei Vasilevsky. They have Victor Hedman. I think, it's going to be tough for them without Mikhail Sergachev. Nikita Kucherov, as you guys know, maybe the leading contender right now for the Hart Trophy. So there's reason to believe that Tampa is going to be a very difficult opponent. And then you look at Boston, like that's who they're going to likely play. So I think it's going to be a war right off the bat. I think they're a better team, but push will come to shove in a 7-game series. And I think the biggest piece of advice I would give to Boston, just pick a goalie and go with him, right?
All right, last 30 seconds. Maybe this is too loaded. How much does scoring change? Because I know totals for games have been about 6.5 generally for these regular season games. How much is this going to change once we get to the postseason?
Like a full goal. I think we're going to see a lot of 5.5, specifically the Carolina Islanders series. If that happens, first period unders, we're going to play those quite a bit. Johnny Lazarus is a king of those. We're going to play a lot of under 5.5s. I think there's going to be a feeling out process, but after that, I think the magic number will be 5.5 for a good majority of the series. I just want to say quickly, like the over 5.5, Buffalo and Washington. I'm playing the data tonight. 6 straight overs, 9 of 10 between those two squads. I like the Peterka shots on goal prop. I like Austin Matthews anytime goal tonight. And I like Pittsburgh and the Islanders, boys.
Boom. Man, there we go. Out the door with some winners from Nick Alberga at the Golden Muzzle.